So he's telling me 475. I jump on MLS, literally same floor plan, new construction. So a year and a half newer is going for 550. I'm like, I could sell this thing for 550, maybe 560.
So quick, just
70K. But all my stuff was tied up. So like I was waiting on 3 properties to close. My credit line was full. I was waiting on another line to open. Like I hadn't closed on the line yet. And so I called Philip Morrow and I'm like, hey, I need like 90 grand, but I'll split this with you. And so he was like, I got it. Let's do it. And we bought it. We put it on.
This is how long ago?
It's under contract right now at 550.
And then do you have to do anything to it? Nothing at all. You're literally just flipping it. Why are they getting rid of it?
I think they were like getting a divorce. They needed out. Didn't want it to hit the MLS.
Why?
They didn't want to mess with showings.
Are these people just like super wealthy or what?
I don't think so. Like they had a realtor.
Who just says like I can afford to?
I don't know. They knew what they were missing out on because they have a realtor who sold them a new house.
Dude, it's crazy the amount of FSBOs we've gotten over the last year and a half that it was such a difference from when the market started going crazy and we were having a lot of short appraisals. Our shortest appraisal came back at 57,000 under. And at that point, we were also seeing some appraisals that were coming a lot higher, and those for the FSBOs because people like think that they're saving a buck.
They don't know. But
they don't really know how that whole thing works. I mean, even myself, like I'm in the mortgage business and I had to reach out to an agent yesterday and I was like, hey, can you give me comps on 2 of my properties because I'm just curious on, I know I reached out to you about, I was trying to see about either a HELOC or just trying to get an appraisal so I could get the PMI off and everything. And, but even though I'm in the business, like I still don't know what I don't know. So it's just so crazy.
So yeah, these people, we bought their house for $475. I go look at tax records. They probably think they won because they bought it at like $455.
25,000. Where
so they made 20 grand. All I did, we leased it back to them for a month for $3 grand. Dude. And then we listed it 560, sold it 550.
Dude, that's crazy. We live in the neighborhoods right next to each other, and just in my neighborhood alone, there's been a couple of people that within I feel 12 months worth of time frame, they've made over 6 figures on it, which is crazy though. But let me ask you this: what's your opinion on making a quick buck, but then because like right now, like you're making a good little profit there, but you're not having to go back out there and buy right in this market. So what do you think about the people that are just trying to make a quick buck and then they have to go out and buy as well too? What are your thoughts on that?
Man, so I'm going through that right now because we're building a house.
Okay.
And so
where are you building?
171st and Sheridan.
Okay. Dang, you're going.
Did I tell you about this?
No, you didn't. But I thought we already lived out in the country. You're going.
Dude, we're out there.
Does it come with a horse and everything?
Oh yeah. No, it doesn't come. So I bought 10 acres. I didn't tell you that.
I need to tell me this.
Okay, so I bought 10 acres for $525.
Okay.
10 acres with a house.
Okay.
Okay. The corner at 171st and Sheridan. I split it. So I split the house off on 2.5 acres. I split a vacant lot that was 3 acres. Sold the house, $370. Sold the vacant lot, $160.
Pretty much made your money back.
I got my land for free. So I get to use my land as equity in my build. So I don't have to sell my house to build a house. That's
insane, man.
Yeah. So now I'm faced with, what do I do with my house? Do I keep it and lease it out, make $1,000 a month while I'm paying my mortgage down, and someone else is covering it for me?
Yeah.
Do I take a loan against it? Do I sell it and make $150?
What are your thoughts on the rental side of it on like a property? Like we're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So like the average home here is what, like 200 something, 225.
Yeah.
So I would think that the money on an investment property, a rental property, is probably like 200,000. So like what's something that you probably don't want to mess with on a rental property that's too high?
I don't know what I want to do right now.
Yeah.
So because I'm all about the long-term wealth, owning rentals, building a portfolio. But at the same time, if I cash out, like if you cash out of a house, you go take your money, what can you do with it that makes money?
Yeah.
Like because as you know, rich dad, poor dad, your house is not an asset.
Yeah.
Because it's costing you money every month.
Yeah.
So if you can cash out and use part of that money to go buy something that's going to cash flow for you, grow in value, that is a true asset, I think it's worth it. But if you're gonna cash out and go
put it in a savings
enjoy
account.
your life on it, go put it in a savings account and let it rot away at 8% a year.
Shoot, even stocks right now are kind of losing a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, that's awesome. And I mean, going back to saying that you don't know what you don't know, I guarantee you 19 out of 20 realtors wouldn't have thought to do what you just did. Hey, let me go buy this piece of land that has a house, get a good deal on it, and split it. You know, half of the times agents are asking me like, what do you mean a legal description? Like, they don't,
right.
You know, because there's so many hands that go into making a loan or making a transaction happen that sometimes people just don't know what they don't know.
Right.
But when you know the right things or you're surrounded by the right people, like you're able to cash in on that.
It was a learning process. I mean, my plan buying it versus how it ended up completely different. Like when I looked at it on the market, I wanted to cut it up into like 5 lots. And then as I talked to engineers in the county, I learned you can't do this. Your lot has to be this wide. You have to have this much buildable area. We have easements here. I knew it could be done. And so I did it. I didn't know when I put it under contract how I was going to finance it, what the split was going to look like. But I knew on the back end of it, I was going to end up with a piece of property that my wife and I have been looking for. So
that's awesome. What is that, Bixby Schools or?
Yep.
That's awesome. Man, so as we've kind of gotten to know, we have a lot in common, including our favorite color, blue here. One thing that I don't think we have in common, correct me if I'm wrong, is my love for like fitness. Are you like big into working out or anything like that?
So I will say I work out. I'm not big into it.
Yeah.
You
don't like enjoy it.
So I
enjoy it. Like I'll go 3 times a day and I'm just like, I love it.
I don't look forward to it because I'm not in shape. Okay. So like played football at OSU. I know how to work out.
Yeah.
I can go get myself a good workout in, and it looks a lot like CrossFit, Olympic lifts, pull-ups, like getting your heart rate going. If you're not in shape, it's not fun. You don't look forward to it. Like, so after college, there's been one point in my life when I was in shape, which was whenever my wife got pregnant. I was like, I have to get huge. I have to be a dad. Like I have to be able to fight people.
Yeah.
And so I was working out all the time, 6 a.m., running, lifting, like got in better shape than I was in college. And then the baby was born and just blew up my routine.
Dang.
And so ever since then, I haven't looked forward to working out. And so it's hard. Like I want to get into it. How do I get back into it? Dude?
Man,
Tell me about it.
I mean, that was going to lead into my next question for you, which is, what is your kind of getaway from it all, from work, because that's mine, I have a stressful day and I set up stuff on my house so that way I can just go home and I don't have to worry about even going back out to the gym. Like I can just hit a quick workout there, and that kind of, it keeps me away from feeling guilty about looking at having to ignore a call or ignore a text. Right. And then it just releases, whatever the science behind it is, that like, it makes you feel like, oh gosh, that day just went from 10 out of 10 bad down to like a 7. Life's not that horrible. So I mean, it just depends. I mean, I'm really, really competitive just about in everything that I do. So when I got into CrossFit, I actually hated CrossFit before I ever did it. And then the first workout I went to, I got hooked on it based on the competitive aspect of it. So I think that's part of it. It's part of just trying to get better and trying to get better than the day you were before, beat people that you weren't able to beat, and then just also just kind of like competitive / like adventure, because not only do I like CrossFit, but I like to just randomly do, like last year at the end of the year, I randomly ran 2 half marathons, and then next month I'll be doing the Tulsa Tough 102 mile run, and that was kind of out of nowhere. I actually
Wait a second. 102 mile run.
No. Bike. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Bike. Yeah, no. So actually, whenever I got back from Reno, Nevada, from that class I went to take, I told you I landed here, went to brunch, and got out of brunch and while we were talking, I was thinking about like, man, I would love to. I wish I could do that. And man, it's something triggering me, and it made me realize that about a year ago, I had shared with my team that I didn't want to be an I wish man. And what that means is there's so many people that are hear cool things and stuff, and they say, man, I wish that I could do that. And it's like, well, why can't you? Right? You can always create a plan and everything. The problem with me is that I've taken that to the extreme to where I always know that there's the possibility that I might not be here next month. I might not be here next year. So I'm like, I want to do that. I don't wish it. I'm going to do it. So literally that same brunch went and bought a bike, and then I rode like 25 miles, and I was like, man, like this hurts. So I love challenges. I love growing. If you're in a comfort zone, you're never going to grow. You're going to hit that complacency, and that's what's going to kind of keep you from growing in life overall. Right. So what is your thing then right now that you feel like takes you out of that stress? And,
So your story, I mean, I had the same like epiphany moment. I'll tell you real quick. So as soon as I graduated college, my wife and I got married a week later.
Nice.
And so life started fast. Like she was back in school for a year. I had to get a full-time job, worked at Dillard's. I kind of told you this.
Yeah.
And so I had just the thought of everything that happens from now for the rest of my life is on my back. There's not a teacher that I can blame for a bad grade. There's not a coach who didn't put me in. Like the results that I produce or don't produce are mine to own. And so it really woke me up. I felt like I changed internally who I was at that moment. Like business got real. My family got real. My faith got real. I'm going to say that backwards. My faith got real. My family got real. Business got real. And so I started reading. I never read my whole life.
Yeah.
I started picking up business books, hitting the Bible every morning. What was important to me really started to rise to the surface because I realized I can decide what's important and make it important. I'm not just going to live and let the winds and the waves toss me around. So that got me started. And so it's kind of got me where I am now. Remind me of the question you asked. How do I get away?
Yeah. Like what's your, like I was saying, I feel like the working out thing is the one thing that we don't have in common as far as how crazy I am about it. But that's the reason why I'm so obsessed with it. I feel like it's because it's my getaway. So like, what's your getaway from whenever you're having like a
So the truth is
day?
It depresses me that I'm not into working out right now. Like I wish I was into working out. I want to be.
So you're an I wish man then?
Absolutely.
I'll see you tomorrow then at 6 a.m. You don't have to be an I wish man.
6 a.m. Dude, you sleeping in tomorrow?
Dude.
Okay. So my getaway, this is, I don't know, this kind of opens up a can of worms of like, what you say. When you say yes, you're saying no to something else. So
yeah.
You say yes to one thing. What am I not going to do because I'm doing something now? And so that wasn't true in my heart until I had a kid.
Yeah.
And,
which is the other one of our differences there.
Yeah. So whenever you have a kid and a wife, it's like, whatever I say yes to right now, I'm saying no to them.
Yeah.
And so you obviously have to provide. I have to go work wherever I am. I'm going to try to be the best that I can be. So if I'm in the office, if I'm selling real estate, doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm going to try to be the anomaly. I'm going to be the one that it's like, well, no one else can do that. Like Kevin did that. That doesn't just mean anyone can do that. That's what I'm striving for. Like,
dude,
I'm not going to take your normal advice and this is how you sell real estate. I'm going to try to figure out how to do it better, more efficient, so that whenever I'm done here, I can go say yes to my family and I can spend more time with my family. And so I say that to say, I feel like if I'm going to work out and it's after the sun comes up, I'm saying no to my family. And there's only one thing that I'm not going to say no to, and that's my family.
Yeah.
So like the way that I've fixed that is I haven't done it for probably 3 weeks because I just roasted myself out. I'd get up at 4:30. I'd go run. I'd work out. I'd be back home by 6, read the Bible, prep for my day. And then by the time my son woke up at 7, I mean, like, I've already got a half day working.
Yeah.
And so that was the one way that, like, Q1 I was getting in shape, and then Q2 hit, I checked the box, and it's been I wish man ever since.
Dude, what you said right now kind of reminds me a lot of something that I was thinking about a couple weeks ago, that creating a habit, it's so hard and it's so easy. The hard part is getting started. The easy part is when you stop doing it, right? One of the things that me and Jordan have is that to keep each other accountable, he has to come to the gym at least 4 times a week. And one thing that I wanted to get better at that I wasn't doing good at was stretching 4 times a week. So I told him, I said, hey, let's put some money on this, right? Like, if you don't show up, then you owe me this much. If I don't do this, then, I owe you this much. And dude, it was hard to stretch for like 20, 30 minutes, at least 4 times a week. Well, I finally get into the groove of it, and then it was easy. I was like, why didn't I just do this before? Like, this is super easy. I was doing it like up to 5 times, sometimes 6 times a week, because I started noticing in my workouts and stuff. But then I took a couple of trips. I went to Miami, I went to St. Louis, and it kind of threw my whole routine off.
Right.
And then I come back, and I was like, wait, I've only stretched once this week. And it was like, it was so hard to get started. It was easy once it became a routine, but then it was even easier to not even realize that you're not doing what unless the accountability is there, it's really hard. Like, if it wouldn't have been for the accountability that I had set up before that, I probably wouldn't I wouldn't have been able to tell you that last time I had stretched out. But with that accountability, I've been able to tell you that I did it yesterday, I did it this morning. So it's so crazy, man.
Dude, I've thought about just hitting you up and being like, you have to make me run tomorrow.
We're
in the same neighborhood.
Let's do it, bro. You can just come and hit a workout anytime. And
do you have the garage gym?
Yeah. And then the other thing is just not being so extreme about it, right? Because so many people try to just go extreme. And people ask me, like, how many times do you work out a week? And like last week alone, I think between biking and CrossFit overall and a couple of two-a-days, I think I probably worked out like 10 or 11 times last week.
I love that, dude.
And then, but people are like, okay, Will can do it 10, 11 times. I can do it at least 5 times a week. And then they start out really hard, and then they just can't sustain that. And it's like, what can you sustain, right? So, but yeah. So you still never answered my question. Like, what is that getaway though?
From work?
Yeah, just
my family.
It's just your family.
Yeah. There's nothing that I want to step away from whenever it's work. Like, and as you know, tell me last time you stepped away.
Stepped away from what?
I mean, you're always getting calls. You're always getting
and I think that's why I like working out so much, is because I literally can't be answering a text while I'm working out.
Yeah. I mean, we've gone on a lot of vacations recently.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm able, man, when I learned and I was able to get the help to be able to still give the same amount of customer service as I was before, whenever I was just being burnt out just every day, every week, every month. And whenever I got that help and I was able to, have a team that's able to help me out and have my back, I really noticed that whenever I truly try my hardest to turn it off, because you're right, like there's not ever a time where you can't, like there's times where you've been like, okay, I'm going to turn it off today, and you're like, no, I really, really have to do this. But the harder that I try and I make my best effort to do it, the better loan officer that I am, the better, the better leader that I am to be able to give my all and not just be burnt out, because being burnt out is in everything, and working out and work and faith and everything, right? You can get burnt out on everything. So, so that's huge for me. That's why I was just curious on that. But I guess the family.
I clearly don't have a getaway.
You don't?
I mean, there's not.
Getting a good deal on a real estate property, I guess.
That's fun.
That gets you the adrenaline rush.
Right.
Man, so what is the next big project outside of this? Is this something that just kind of came up out of nowhere, or what?
What are you talking about?
The house that you're looking at,
So the house we're building. Or wait, which one?
the house that you're flipping.
House
I
that I'm
guess
flipping? Okay.
It was just
So-
connection. It's just connections. I
Yeah.
guess.
So
and
I
then
mean,
just
there's
opportunity.
there's with wholesalers in town. You know, guys will ask, hey, what do you want? And my answer is, if there's money to be made, I want it. And so this one, there was money to be made.
Yeah.
And it was unique because not everyone wants to go risk $480,000 to potentially make, if they can't bring in themselves 30 grand. Like that's a lot of liability to bring on for $30,000.
Yeah.
But like in most, I mean, when I bought my land, people were asking me, how are you going to finance? I'm like, I don't know. I know that I can do it. So with this house, it was the same thing. I didn't exactly know how I was going to do it, but I knew that there was money to be made. It was the one I was the most uncertain about to
This
date.
last one?
Yeah. Like
Really?
out of everything I've done, I was like, it's like the tax records have now updated from when we bought it. So you can see we bought it. We're selling it a month later for $70,000 more than we bought it. Like it's not brand new. There's some touch up paint. Like the grass is overgrown. It's not perfect.
And you're literally not going to do anything to it?
I'm going to do nothing.
You're not even going to mow the grass?
Okay, we got the grass cut. But yeah, I'm like, what scared me was going on the market not perfect. Because when I've flipped houses, whenever anything I list,
It's been
I'm like,
perfect.
yeah. And there was I had my brother's friend called me to list his house. And he's like, walk it, tell me what I need to do. The place was a pit. And I'm like, paint it, stage it. We're good. And so he wanted to sell it for like $315, $320. I'm like, you paint it and stage it, $375 all day. Sold it in like 2 days, $375. So, like I made him 50 grand paint and stage, but if you paint and stage good photos, your money on the market. And so
how much does that cost though? Just an estimate ballpark.
I mean, I think he paid $6 grand in paint, $3,500 to stage.
So it's just the unknown right now. You just never done it before.
Right.
And I think it goes back to what I was saying though, as far as you have that cliche quote, high risk, high reward. And in order to put yourself in the positions of high risk, high reward, you have to be able to step into the unknown and be able to take, step out of your comfort zone in order to grow. So that's good, man.
Yeah. Man, I want to know how you view debt so personal debt, high income versus buying investments, paying off debt, buying a house. Like you have a client, he's like, should I pay my debt off? What do you tell him?
It just depends on what the picture looks like. So yesterday I actually had a conversation with somebody. It's actually somebody that's not technically a client, but they're the spouse of one of the agents that we work with. And we were kind of going over the whole thing as far as like, hey, I have this much in my retirement account, but I've left my job. My wife has this much on her retirement account, but she's not contributing anymore to it. And he was asking me pretty much on, should I just withdraw it all? We don't really have debt except for our house. And I started just asking questions, right? Because I have to make sure that I'm giving my opinion and I'm also staying in my lane. Because I asked him first, like, hey, do you have a financial advisor? And he's like, I'm actually meeting with one next week. I happen to know the guy. And I said, he would be the perfect person to ask as far as what his expertise tell you on if you should pull that money out. Because there's also things as, fees and all that stuff that it might not even make it be worth it, right? But I told him, I said, I know that you could potentially borrow against that 401k, had about 150k in it, and then at that point, you're most likely to get that money back because you'll pay debt faster than you'll save money back again. And then, but then like I said, we started having a conversation overall, and then found out that he has over $100,000 in equity in his house. And I said, hey, well, why don't you slap a HELOC on that? And then, probably it was a smaller part on her retirement that I said, maybe you can just, depending on what he says and what it looks like, because that's something that he'll be able to take a look and say, hey, this is earning quite a bit, or like, no, you should pull this out, and maybe pull that out, pull a HELOC. And that's something that you're able to, utilize as you need it. So to answer your question, I'm big on cash flow, man. And because cash flow will create opportunity that most people aren't able to do. That's why, you know, sometimes you grow up, I don't know about you, but I grew up like thinking it seems like the wealthy just keep getting wealthier. And it's because they have the resources to be able to not only position yourself where luck is going to hit you, but to be able to do something with that, right? Because just because you are walking every day to work and then some out of nowhere there's a free car that somebody gives it to you, you have to be able to know how to drive that car, or else it's a tool that you, or an opportunity that's right in front of you, and then that you're not able to use it. And I do feel that a lot of people are very, very scared of debt, but I think that as long as you're able to manage it, there's such thing as good debt, right? Even sometimes I break down the numbers for people that are trying to scrape just about every penny that they have to put 20% down so they can get rid of PMI, but they have an 820 credit score, and PMI is like it's like under $100, like under $80 on a $400,000 loan or so for them. And then so I'll break down the numbers for them and say, hey, what if we just put 10% down and buy PMI up front? Like payment just about the same. You get to keep that cash, just because you're never going to be able to just quickly grab cash from the walls, even if your house has 20% equity or 100% equity. So I'm big on trying to strategize the way that you have your assets and liabilities and everything like that. I'm big on creating an opportunity for sure.
Yeah. So the best way I've heard someone describe cash as equity is equity, Joe. Your cash is stuck as equity, Joe. You can't.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything you've learned since getting into lending that you've taken into your own, like investing? Like, are you buying and stuff because of what you've learned or seen as a lender?
Yeah, man. I mean, I got into lending really young, so I've learned a lot of things that, of course, whether I was in lending or not, I would probably be doing different things just because I was so young. And, but I've definitely learned on both ends that, for example, like in my opinion, real estate is a lot smarter buy than you go buying stocks, just because the return on it is a lot higher. And then also the chances of it backfiring on you, like you don't have control of either. But the way that I see it, it's a lot safer investment than you putting $100,000 into Bitcoin or even Apple stock or whatever it is, right? Because at that point, that something can just drop overnight, and then you're like, crap, what do I do? Do I just cash out and take my losses, or do I ride it out until it comes back up again? And then at that point, it comes back up, and you're like, should I just wait to try to make more money on it? So it's a lot less emotional roller coaster ride, and then you're able to sustain it to be able to gain more profit over time if you're patient enough for it, right? But I feel like a lot of people have that mentality of you want to make a quick buck, and it doesn't always work like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things is that people build wealth, generational wealth, through real estate. That's one thing that I really wouldn't have known into depth like I know now if I wouldn't be in the business. So
I agree, man.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, dude, I like to tell people being a real estate agent is being, on the front row at a game of investments. I have no risk. All I do is make a commission.
Yeah.
But I can watch what investors do and ask all the questions I want and learn for free. Actually, I'm getting paid to learn.
That's
because
amazing.
I sell you an investment. I ask you how you're going to finance it. What are you going to like? What's the kitchen going to look like? Are you going to redo the floors, the roof, the paint? What kind of work are you going to do in this house? And what are you going to refi at? What value are you trying to hit? And so I get those questions for free with someone I've built a relationship with, and I get paid a commission. And so then, I get to do that for 2 or 3 years until I started making money, and now I can go do it myself. And you can still call all those same guys and say, hey, I'm looking at this property, or I've got this, or I'm doing this renovation right now. What would you do?